Alright, hello, welcome back everybody. PayPal and Patreon are down below if you want to support me. Only do so if you actually can. And if you want the graphs, or want access to the graphs used in this video, then they are all available in a Google Drive folder that's linked down in the description. That's always free to access, but any PayPal or Patreon support helps with the maintenance of all that data and everything as well. So now it's time for the monthly oil demand levels update. So starting off with the US, the largest consumer still. My cat is lurking right behind me. You guys might hear her meow if she meows loud enough. But anyways, the US continuing to hold a rough consumption plateau of around 20 million barrels per day as it has for the last 2 decades. This time coming in a bit elevated at 21.5. China seeming like they're starting to hit their demand peak around 17, and this time coming in just above 17 million barrels per day. India almost got up to 6 earlier in the year, but has gradually dropped down over the first half plus and is now most recently at 5.56. Japan was once up around 6 million barrels per day decades ago. However, because of rapidly increased fuel efficiency, the use of mass public transit, and the gradual aging of their population, since as people get older, they start going less places, doing less stuff, not working anymore, buying less things, which means less things are getting transported and moved around. So their oil consumption has dropped from 6 down to usually a bit above 3.5. This time they're at a low point of the year, coming in just under 3 at 2.99. Russia, back in the USSR, had a demand level of around 5 million. Not the whole USSR, just Russia within the USSR. The whole USSR was around 7.5. But Russia's dropped close to 2 when the USSR collapsed, and as their economy came back into existence over the 21st century, they climbed back up close to 4, dropped with COVID like everyone else, recovered from that, and then in the economic fallout post Ukraine invasion, they dropped back down to roughly around 3, and they were up around 3.25 recently million barrels per day. However, with the various refinery attacks and numerous shutdowns, their domestic consumption has likely dropped a bit over the last few weeks, but won't be able to have precise data on that for another month or so. Or actually, technically, won't be able to get real legitimate data at all because Russia stopped publishing anything and now considers data to be classified, trying to make my job harder one step at a time. South Korea has plateaued at about 2.8 in present day, this time coming in at 2.84. Saudi Arabia fluctuates between 2 and 3 over the course of the year, as they have much higher electricity demand during the summer, obviously, and they still generate a lot of electricity from oil fired power generation, although that percentage is shrinking. And this time they came in at 2.58. Canada has plateaued at around 2.5, this time coming in a bit up at 2.69. Brazil got close to 3 in the early 2010s, but then as their economy began to wobble, they dropped down, came back up a bit, dropped down, came back up a bit, and they're kind of just inconsistent now post 2020. This time it seems like they dropped back down under 2 and came in around 1.8 or 1.9 million barrels per day for domestic consumption. Indonesia is now up above 2 million barrels per day domestically for their consumption and still climbing. They finally updated their data for the missing 3 months, and those came in as 2.24, 2.18, and this time 2.16 million barrels per day. Germany was once up at 3, but they've declined over time down to more around 2, this time coming in at 2.06. Iran was up around or a bit below 2, and then in the immediate hold and aftermath of the conflict in June, they dropped as low at one point as only 800,000 barrels per day, but they've rebounded since then as the conflict has frozen. They've rebounded close to normal, but a bit under it, coming in this time at 1.65. Mexico was once up a bit under 2, but their demands never recovered post-COVID, and they've only gotten as high as 1.6 a few times, this time coming in at 1.43 instead. France is post-COVID usually been staying around 1.6. This time came in just under it at 1.59. The UK post-COVID is usually around 1.5, and they've also declined over time, like most of the other European nations. And they, this time, actually came in exactly the same as France at 1.59 million barrels per day. Italy in present day has declined down to roughly 1.3. This time they came in elevated at 1.42. Spain in present day is also usually at about 1.3, and this time they came in pretty close at 1.32. Singapore peaked up around 1.4 or 1.5, and they've since declined down to around 1.2 and are likely going below that. This time they came in at 1.25 million barrels per day. Turkey in present day has grown up to between 1.2 and 1.3, and this time came in exactly in the middle at 1.25 million barrels per day. Thailand seems like they're plateauing out around 1.2, and this time they came in at 1.16. Australia is very slowly climbing from 1.1 up to 1.2. This time they came in at 1.12 million barrels per day. Netherlands was averaging around 1 million post-COVID for a few years. However, they have since declined down more to averaging about 900,000, this time coming in at 907. Taiwan was averaging about a flat 1 million for 20 years or so, but now they've also declined down to averaging more around 900,000, this time coming in at 862. Iraq in present day is averaging between 800 and 900,000 for domestic consumption, this time most recently coming in at 840. And Malaysia in present day is also around 800 to 900, and they came in around the same area as Iraq, coming in at 846,000 barrels per day. Egypt also usually between 800 and 900, and they came in at 825. Polska, usually around 800 or just under it. This time they came in at 775. Argentina, usually when they are economically stable, around 700 or so, and this time they came in just under it or a bit below it at 660. Nigeria, in total average, has been climbing from 600 towards 700. This time they dropped back down closer to 600, coming in at 608. Belgium used to be at 700, but has been declining down closer to 600 now, and this time came in with a demand level of 633,000 barrels per day. South Africa finally got some data, and it looks like during the first half of this year, they bounced back up in terms of oil demand across all products and were averaging around 564,000. Algeria getting close to averaging about 500,000 in present day. This time dropped back down to 457,000. Colombia in present day is up to usually around 500,000 now, but it looks like this time they came in once again closer to 400 at 408. Kazakhstan in present day is usually in the mid or now upper 400s. They recently set a new record high up in the 600s. This time they came in just over 500 at 510. Pakistan is back up into the 400s after having dropped with their economic slump and their internal instability down into the 300s for quite a while. They're now back up into the 400s as of most recently, coming in at 450,000. Chile is plateauing out at about 400, and this time they came in at 388. Ecuador has gotten up to usually being around 300, and this time it looks like they came in at 275. Sweden had declined down to around 300,000 barrels per day of demand, and this time they came in at 291. Greece used to be closer up in the 400,000s, but post their economic implosion in the early 2010s, they fell down to averaging more around 300. This time they came in at 298. Romania, usually around 250. This time came in at 227. Portugal, also usually around 250. This time came in at 223. The 200 club of countries who usually average right above or right underneath 200,000 barrels per day. Austria, this time came in at 246. Czech Republic came in at 232. Hungary came in down at 190. Switzerland came in almost right on point at 199. Finland came in decently down at 160. Norway came in decently up at 294. And that's it for this one. So thank you everybody for sticking around and listening. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already. PayPal and Patreon are down there if you want to support me. Only do so if you actually can. There's links to my photography, my Blue Sky, one in the top end comment to my cat's YouTube channel. May God bless and protect all of you, and I will see you all around next time.